Welcome to the FasCat podcast. I'm your host, Frank Overton. Some call me the Big Cat. And I'm always joined with the ever lovely Jackson Long.
So lovely right now. I feel so lovely.
You're just lovely.
Pleasure to be here, as always. Thursday is a good day.
It's my favorite day of the week. We are live on Facebook as well. So thank you all the Facebook fans and listeners that are joining us live. Coach Jake is in the house. He's going to answer your questions. And we're just going to get started with this podcast.
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
Today is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. We are talking about what kind of feedback to give your coach.
Yeah, it's important. And I mean, I think as we'll get into, communication is key with any sort of coach-athlete relationship, any relationship for that matter. And as a result, it's like it's a keystone factor for not only progressing as an athlete, but for having a successful relationship that works in a coaching setting.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a two-way street.
It is.
Yeah, you're not just the athletes out there are not just robots doing what's on the training plan. You got to communicate and give some information back to your coach, more than the information that's coming from your ride data.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I think we have a couple things to talk about before we get into the real podcast.
Before you do that, I just want to say thanks for holding down the fort last week.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
You guys crushed the plant-based nutrition.
Yeah, it was fun, and I think people liked it, and it was just fun to do something a little different too, and have me kind of play host and bring it in, and
how'd that feel?
It was fun. I mean, I like that. Yeah, and it was. What's the saying? It's like when the cat is away, the mice will play or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is pretty relevant to the FasCat. But yeah, it was cool. Isaiah rode over on his bike over to my house, and
nice.
We just kind of threw it down, and I think we covered a lot of really good topics. I mean, it's hard to fit, the gigantic topic of plant-based nutrition for cyclists into one podcast. So definitely, like, for anyone listening out there, feel free to let us know if you want to hear more of that, what you thought. We've gotten a lot of good feedback already, but it's something that obviously is near and dear to my heart, and it's something that I focus on and love talking about, and so I'm happy to do more of it, and I think Isaiah would be too.
Just based on the social media engagement, a lot of people that y'all resonated with a lot.
Yeah.
And we should definitely do more sports nutrition.
Yeah.
And plant-based as well.
Yeah, totally. And so, I mean, I'm happy to talk about all of it. And, I think it's a topic that's important. It's a huge part of all of this, of traiing and racing recovery and all of that.
Yeah. I love talking about the sports nutrition.
Yeah.
I mean, I also sometimes worry that we're too focused on it. But I don't think there's a lot of information to share.
Yeah, I mean, and to this day, I was just checking the stats yesterday. I mean, Winning in the Kitchen is our most popular episode.
Really?
Yeah. So
you just posted a Winning in the Kitchen YouTube video of what to eat post-ride just this morning, right?
Yep, it was a little nugget.
Go check that out on our YouTube channel.
Yep, little nugget from our previous Q&A. And I think we've been talking about doing some more like actual video content of food and what we're eating, and kind of continue on that series, because it's a cool thing. And then you just because while we were recording, you were living it up in Maui, spring break.
Yeah, it was
training camp. Yeah,
this is awesome.
How was it?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, just to be able to get up in the morning and just go out the door and not have to check the weather, just jersey, shorts, every day.
That's so good.
And it was highs in the 60s when I would leave.
Perfect.
I rode every morning at first light, and that was my strategy. There was one morning where I left before it got light because I was doing a big ride and I needed to get done at a certain day. But I rode about 3 hours a day for the whole week. I took a rest day in the middle, just like what we talked about in the training camp podcast. And, highs in the 60s. It was like mid-70s by the time I finished. It was just gorgeous. The scenery was amazing.
Wow.
I had sea level watts the whole time. It was the West Maui Loop I rode. It's just, I counted, it's about 8 or 9 VO2 efforts,
Yeah.
one after the other for about 20, 25 miles.
Oh, that's great. Those little steep kickers. Yeah. I mean, I found though that like whenever I go to Maui, especially like the sea level.
What are you doing, Kat?
Every time. The sea level watts kind of get canceled out by the heat and humidity because I just am not used to it. And so it's like I find that I'm just like sweating and like it takes a couple of days to get
it
kind
didn't
of
even
used
get
to
up into the 80s.
Yeah, I mean I've never been at this time of year. But that's cool. And then
I did the road to Hana.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. And that's the day that I left at like quarter of 6 because I read that you want to beat the traffic and all the tour buses. And even still, the last 20 miles, I was like leapfrogging with cars. And the cool part about that ride, my family, we rented a Jeep, and the plan was for them to meet me in Hana because it was 80 miles one way, and I couldn't like drive there and then ride some of it, and I also where we were staying. So it was 80 miles one way. Yeah. And the plan was for us to meet there and have lunch and then go to the beach afterwards. And the last 12 miles of the Hana ride are net downhill.
Yeah.
And so there's a long climb up to that. And right when I crested the climb at mile 63 with 67 with 12 miles to go, it's all downhill, super curvy, and you got to punch it over the climbs. Anyway, my family caught up to me at that point.
Right at the perfect moment.
And I essentially was able to motor pace off of them the final 12 miles. And that prevented the cars from doing the leapfrog thing. And they were like cheering me on.
That's awesome.
It was super fun. My youngest daughter said I was going too fast.
Yeah, it's always scarier in the car, I think, than when you're on the bike.
Well, I was really carving the turns and able to keep up with traffic. And she'd never seen that before. Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing place. Maybe we'll do a training camp there in the future.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'll be there.
It would be, I think it's an amazing place for a training camp. If you live there, I think the riding would get redundant.
Yeah, but just for like a short little week or something, it's perfect little getaway and good food and good weather and all of that. All right. And then do you want to talk a little bit about the coaching intensives, just kind of refresh people's minds on that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Coaching intensives, I forgot the dates. They are, shoot me an email if you're interested in hearing more of the details and the dates, but it's winning in the kitchen, recovery, staying at my house, and basically training how we advocate here on the podcast.
Cool.
Yeah. The biggest announcement though is our new forum.
Yes. People have been asking about this.
Yeah, so a little bit of background. For the last 2 years, we've had a private Facebook group, and it has exceeded all of I didn't even really have any expectations, but it's just been wildly popular, and a lot of athletes. We have over 1,000 athletes over there, and an active, engaging, positive community asking questions about training. And I moderate it, and some of the, Coach Jake does, and some of the other coaches. And we have been cognizant over the last year and a half that some people don't use Facebook.
Right.
It's fine, cool, I get it. And then a lot of people also have, said that's the only reason why they go to Facebook is use our forum. So we are taking our private Facebook group over to a real forum on the FasCat website, and that's probably going to drop next week. I think we're doing a bunch of web development, and not only are we going to maintain our private Facebook group for the customers that buy training plans from us, we're going to open it up to the whole entire World Wide Web, public. And we want to encourage for all of you out in podcast land that come on over to the forum, and it's going to be wide open. We're going to have a variety of topics, a variety of coaches with specialties on each topic moderating. And, we'd love for you to be a part of our community over in the FasCat forums. And in addition to that, we saw an opportunity from the private Facebook group where athletes want just a little bit more help. Not quite coaching, but just like one power data review, one training plan revision. So we're going to roll out a membership. And for $29 a month, We are gonna analyze your power, maybe help you revise your training plan, and it's all gonna be done out of this out of the forum. So post your question there. If you're a member, you'll get access when you become a member, and you can post your question, and we'll go into your training peaks and revise your plan or analyze your data and help you understand and learn how to train and help you out that way for just a small price. So it's not coaching. We're not designing custom training plans, but coming in at a hopefully what everyone finds is a nice value.
A little more special attention.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then plus you and I are getting ready for the oat root.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for the weather to be consistently nice. It's just it keeps happening where we just like get some random snowstorm or it's cold. I mean, obviously first world problems here, but
you got an FTFP, man.
I know. I need to FTFP. I know.
Jackson and I are going to Asheville, and I think it's in like 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 weeks probably. Well, yeah, maybe 5 or 6 weeks.
It's May 17th, so about 6 weeks actually. And we're going to be there. We're going to do the Oat Root Asheville. We're going to bring this podcast to Asheville.
Podcast field
Thursday.
trip.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do the live feed too. Why not? And
in the hotel.
Yeah, and from the lobby. We need to figure out the format. We're going to obviously enjoy and ride the Oat Root and look forward to meeting anyone out there that listens that's doing it as well, along with all the other athletes that we've helped get there. So
do some video. I think we'll vlog. We'll vlog the experience.
Yeah,
it could be fun.
That'll be really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to get you on the Oat Root plan.
Is there an Oat Root plan?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I need to get on it.
All right.
What am I doing?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get that plan and get you over to the forum and let you ask questions.
Exactly.
And all that stuff. Then we can give you a hard time about FTFP.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, should we do it? Should we get into the actual podcast? Is there anything else we need to cover? No.
No.
Cool.
Let's talk about what kind of feedback to leave your coach.
Sweet.
So I think data is wonderful. Obviously, Training Peaks makes it super easy to upload your data. And one thing I've noticed ever since the Garmin Connect automatic upload happened is that athletes stopped leaving a lot of feedback. So what I'm talking about, your phone automatically pushes your ride data from your Garmin or your Bolt up into Training Peaks. And then a lot of people are like, I've done what I need to do. But your training doesn't stop there. Your training continues on by needing to leave your coach feedback in the post-activity comments of Training Peaks or whatever software you're using. And it just takes 2 or 3 minutes and no excuses. You can, because they have an app where you can leave it on your phone. And the time that it takes you to leave a text message, and go to the app in Training Peaks and type in, I felt great, I felt bad, here's some other stuff. And I think that is paramount to coaching athletes. And so that's what we want to talk about today and, share, maybe what to say. And, I think it's important.
Well, just like kind of expanding on that point, it's like I kind of am starting to feel a little old now because like I remember back in the day when I first started, racing and training, I had one of those like original, I think it was called like a servo, the power tap yellow head unit. And I would just have so many problems like trying to connect it to my computer and upload the data from my power tap hub, and like the data was all over the place, and that was pre-Training Peaks too. And so it was like sending the file to my coach.
You had to manually attach it in an email.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so it's like now like you said, everything is just so streamlined and made so easy to not only share the data, like automatically happens, but also to just quickly and easily communicate with your coach and have both of those things, the data and the communication, just right in one place instead of like going back and forth in an email or like having all this weird, disconnect where you have to plug in your thing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so but yet, and the reason why we're recording this podcast is there's still a disconnect between athletes and the coach and the communication, which we'll get into.
Yeah. So data without any context, I oftentimes find not that valuable. It's like, hey, great, you did your workout, but there's a lot more to it. Or, hey, great, you didn't do your workout, but why?
Yeah.
Maybe that's an acceptable reason, and there's a reason behind it. Maybe you're slacking, and we want to know the difference.
Yeah.
And we want to do it in a positive, constructive way. So you got to communicate with your coach, and it's super duper important. And when you get done with the race, a lot of times, it's the weekend, you're not in front of your computer, but I think the post-activity comments becomes your own training diary. So if you're not doing it for your coach, do it for yourself. You will go back for the last season and the season before and read your post-activity comments. It's the new training diary.
Yeah.
No more notebooks, spiral notebooks, pads. You'll look at what you had to say about that race. Yeah, sure, you'll look at your data, but you'll also want to know what was going on. And they say the most successful athletes are the ones that race. They get their recovery, but they spend 5 minutes kind of recounting the day or the race. What happened? Here's the context. And so there's actually, now that I think about it, there's two types of feedback. There's the training data feedback for your coach, and then there's here's what happened in the race.
Yeah, it's the quantitative versus qualitative data, because
the play-by-play.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, you can see all the data, all the numbers, the watts, the power, even the results that, like the number that you placed in the race or how long the workout was. But that's just all the quantitative stuff. But then the qualitative stuff can really just enhance and paint a bigger picture of what the quantitative data is telling.
That's right. Yeah.
It's kind of like show versus tell kind of thing.
You gotta tell.
Yeah.
Definitely upload your data, but communicate with your coach what's going on. That's how I monitor athletes' training.
Yeah.
I can monitor whether you're doing the plan or not, but there's so much more to it than that. We've joked about making it turn green in Training Peaks. There's way more to it. Are you turning it green, following the plan? What do you have to say about that training? That means a lot to me, and so we'll get into that. And the biggest thing is, coaching is when you hire a coach or when you buy a plan, there's more to it than just following the plan, not being a robot. There's engaging your coach with those post-activity comments, not necessarily waiting until you have a phone call with them, which isn't going to be as regular, but you're going to be training 4 to 5 times, maybe 6 times a week. Why not just, quick post-activity comment, and then you'll get some engagement back from your coach on that.
Yeah, because as we've talked about in many podcasts, cycling performance isn't just about watts or intervals. There's a lot more to the story.
A lot more. Yeah. So I often joke, we are not mind readers. We need to know what's going on with you beyond just your data. And I have a funny story I want to share.
Yeah.
So this is like a long time ago, and I'm getting my hair cut, and normal haircut, and I'm just sitting there, and the lady cutting my hair is trying to make small talk with me, and
Classic.
she's not having much luck. And there's other ladies around. You've seen the movie Barbershop?
I haven't.
Like Ice Cube?
No, I haven't.
Hilarious. It is like there's a bunch of dudes sitting around, and they're just talking about everything and laughing and mucking it up. And and I kind of felt like I was in this situation when she asked me what was going on, and so I finally said something like, I told her like some major life event that I was like, okay, fine, I got a new job, or I think I might have said I'm getting married, and she's like, dude, you got to tell your hairdresser that, and then she, for the next 30 minutes she goes on and on and on about that, and I'm just reminded of that today. It's like there are some certain things that you may not think are related to coaching, but you got to tell your coach that. And,
even just that's like, that's a huge part of being a coach, right? Is being able to pull those threads that to the athlete might not seem like a big thing. Like, oh, I have a little, scratch in my throat, or, my knee is bothering me.
I'm getting married.
Like,
I'm getting fired.
Yeah.
Or I'm getting divorced.
Like for the athlete, it might not seem like it's impacting the training or like the performance, but as a coach, that's part of being a coach, is like being able to like step in and pull that thread and like, find that nugget within the conversation and apply it to what the athlete's doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's going on in their life? What's going on in the athlete's life? And that's going to have an impact on their coaching. Yeah. Where are you going to be for training? What's this business trip like? What's going on at home? How are your kids? How's the weather? All that stuff relates to good training. So, going back to my hairdresser, it's like, dude, you got to tell your coach that. So, if you don't tell them that in the regular phone call, go ahead and just, that's part of the post-activity comments. I take care of a lot of that type of communication during our regular phone calls. But the stuff that I want to hear about on a day-to-day basis in Training Peaks, in those post-activity comments, it's 4 components. And it's 4 components I like to monitor that help me figure out the athlete, to get to know the patterns of their training and of their motivation, their sports psych, their fatigue. And so those are, there's sports psychology. You got to leave feedback. And if you're going to, data doesn't deal with, data is data. It's not what's going on in the head. Yeah. So that's 1. Then 2, I like for our athletes to tell me how tired or how good they feel, how they feel. So I track fatigue. And then also life stressors, kind of like what we just alluded to. But, TSS, ATL, it does not cover stress at work, kid being up at night, things like that. And then the 4th thing I want to know about is the environmental conditions. Not everyone gets to, be in Maui where it's a non-factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Cycling is one of those sports, we're out there in the elements. I mean, this is not Zwift. We're and it's not basketball, which trains indoors, and you're out there in the elements, and it impacts your training. So I want to know that. And Training Peaks, it'll tell you the temperature, and then also tell you the time of day, which I can deduce. But there's other times it doesn't tell you wind. Yeah. It doesn't tell you snow or rain, although you can, that's just really helpful information to tell your coach. And so we should break down those 4 components.
Yeah. And I mean, I think another part of this is how to be coachable as an athlete, kind of like how to do the best, put in a little bit of extra effort as the athlete in order to help the coach do his job or her job as a coach. And because, again, it's like it takes 2 to tango. You have to have both.
It's a 2-way street.
Both, people involved in that process. And if one of them is off, then, I mean, we'll get into that, but it can kind of make the whole thing fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So before the podcast started, we were talking about basketball players and whether they're coachable or not. And some, basketball players, you'll hear about coaches talk about great players, how they're coachable. And, I think, who's the Golden State Warriors coach? Steve Kerr.
I have no idea.
He's one of the, he's a coach that I look up to. I follow him and I've listened to podcasts and read his stuff. He's a great leader, a great coach. And, if you're applying a multidisciplinary approach, you can learn a lot from other coaches.
Totally.
Steve Kerr is one of them. And then he's got this player, Steph Curry. He's NBA, MVP, all-star. The guy's phenomenal. But he talks about how Steph is coachable. He'll take what the coach says and then try to implement and do it in a way that's, you can train him. And so there's some athletes that are exactly like that. They'll absorb up all the advice you give them. They listen, they process, they take that and they do that further. Yeah. Whereas, I've encountered lots of athletes that aren't coachable. They don't listen. They're not receptive to new ideas. You got to be open-minded. Some athletes start off as not coachable, and you kind of work on them and you build trust and, give them a little bit and they do it. And, then they kind of see the light. Yeah. Then they become coachable. That's one of the things we do on our jobs. But to the point of this podcast. If you cannot leave post-activity comments for your coach, I would put you in the not coachable category. You can follow a plan, but there's a lot more to it than that.
I was going to say, yeah, you can follow the plan exactly and do exactly what the coach is telling you. But if you aren't providing that next level of communication, then you're not really going to grow because you're just kind of like going through the motions, in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Training can be, have we talked about the popcorn slide? Alan Lim's popcorn slide. He said training is like popping a bag of microwave popcorn.
I think we did. Yeah. At some point.
So there's 3 ways training can go. It's like popping a bag of microwave popcorn. Dr. Alan Lim. You can pop it just right. You can pop it too much and then the kernels are burnt, and that's like getting overtrained. You can not select enough time and there's too many kernels and you're undertrained. Training is like that, and you got to communicate with your coach to be. Because maybe you're training just right. Maybe you're getting trained too hard and you got to be like, Coach, you're killing me. Or you're not training enough and you can be like, Coach, I can do more.
Yeah.
That's like the root of all this communication and post-activity comments. So, yeah, you got to, if you just follow the plan, you may not know if you're getting, you got to let your coach know if he's microwave popcorn pop just right or too much or too little.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So let's talk about sports psych. Sports psych as it relates to post-activity comments.
Yeah.
Let me read everyone two comments. These are real comments from athletes, and then tell you guys what we deduce from them as coaches so that it helps you understand. So the first one is, just didn't feel like going hard today. That's understandable. Second one is, dude, I crushed it. Okay, so 2 different, very different comments going on there. The just didn't feel like going hard today. That would, for me as a coach, that tracks back to their motivation. They're just not motivated. And, every athlete is going to experience that once in a while. If it becomes a pattern that you get from monitoring your training, as long as you're leaving post-activity comments, that would be a point of discussion to bring up with the athlete the next time you talk. I can also see that in their power data. Did they really try on those intervals? I'll be able to tell from your wattage and your heart rate. But did you have something to say about that?
Yeah.
Are you going through the motions? And then on the other hand of the side is the dude, I crushed it. Are you turning yourself inside out to do your best on these intervals? And are you Mr. Enthusiastic? I can tell from talking with athletes. That's why I do phone conversations. I can tell, are you happy? Are you ambivalent? Are you sad? It seems like you don't really care. Those are all things that I pluck out of the post-activity comments.
Are these like just little one sentences from the whole of the post comments, or is that enough for you as a coach? Are these good examples of the feedback, or like how can we as athletes, or the listener, like glean some information from that? I mean, I know we'll get into that, but like what, I guess just to kick this off a little bit more, is like, what to you is like, how do you define the post-activity comments? Like, what are you looking for as a coach?
Well,
because I feel like, dude, I crushed it. Like, that doesn't seem to say a lot other than like they're psyched and they're, feeling good. But
that might be part of like another sentence or something. But it also know that I'm looking at their training plan. I know it's a hard workout. I'm also looking at their wattage and the results of the workout with like really high wattage. And so you kind of putting it all together. The comments just help do that. Because
even that kind of expands upon just the, if they went through and did the intervals exactly right. If they didn't say that, then it's just sort of like, okay, they're just going through the motions. But if they're saying something like this, it's like obviously the motivation is there.
Exactly. Okay. And that's what you pick up on. A motivated athlete is really good. Yeah, that's a really good situation.
Yeah.
And then, are you training not enough, just right, or more. If the athlete's really motivated, you can try to push them a little bit and maybe get a little more performance.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if they're just didn't feel like going hard today, well, you probably don't want to prescribe a really hard block at training. Maybe take a step back, get them motivated again. That's something to work on. Maybe give I call it bayou training. I had an athlete from New Orleans once, and he's saying there was a local legend there that would go off and do these professional races in Europe and just get his ass kicked. But he would come back home and do these local races, and they were in the bayou, and he would win, and that would help him get his mojo back. So there are some bayou workouts that'll help athletes get their mojo back and get to the point where they feel good about training. And that's what I'm going to do if I'm getting a couple of non-motivational comments. But I'm also going to want to know why. Once, not that big of a deal, but if it becomes a pattern, then you're going to want to find out what's up. So a lot of times the post-activity comments are triggers to the coach. So like, okay, this is getting important, or this is on the radar. We're going to flag this and monitor it, things like that.
And learning athletes' personalities of like if they're more intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated, and kind of working different workouts and kind of like feedback in order to kind of help match that, I think is also critical.
Absolutely. Yeah. Power File doesn't tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. So the second thing I want to track in the post-activity comments is an athlete's fatigue. Yeah. Right. How hard is the training making them? How well are they recovering from the hard training? Exactly. Can you handle it? Can you do more? This goes back to the popcorn.
Yeah.
Should I spend more time popping that bag of microwave popcorn or less time? So, but in the early days of power, we would just have athletes do intervals till failure, and then they couldn't do that, and you'd see it in their power, and then you'd think, back then we thought, oh, okay, we can see this. At that time, that was good. The problem was that has ramifications downstream that you may go tear up a VO2 workout and go full gas, but then you're so whacked for like the next day and the next day, so it impacts training. So the sooner you can get that bag of microwave popcorn pop just right, the better the training is as a whole. So I always want to know how an athlete is feeling in relation to the training. I don't need to know your emotional state about how you're feeling about life in general. I mean, but no, we're talking about how you feel from the training. Yeah. Is it easy? Is it really hard? Is it about right? Has that pattern changed? Did it feel easy on Tuesday and then it's stupid hard on Saturday? That means, maybe the training is too easy. Yeah. On the other hand, going back to that dude, I crushed it comment. Yeah, he's motivated, but maybe the training is too easy.
Yeah.
So a lot of these four components of post-activity comments that we're going to talk about can interrelate, and you kind of have to put the pieces together. And that's what I do when I leave my feedback back.
Yeah.
Okay. So tracking fatigue, what are we talking about? I like for athletes, I kind of relate, the feedback you should give, think of it in terms of like a stoplight. Red, green, orange. Red is you feel really tired. Green is you felt really great. And then orange is, kind of how you feel normally. If you think of yourself as like a bell curve or how you feel, the majority of the times you're going to be orange, feeling normal, like with a well-designed training plan. You're going to be red once in a while. You're going to be green once in a while on either side of that bell curve. If you're red multiple days in a row, that's probably a sign of that popcorn getting popped too much. Yep. The training is too hard. I'm going to monitor that and then make a training plan revision, or find out what's going on with the recovery, or just something's not right. If you're red, this is like the whoop. This is why we like the whoop.
Yeah, it's simple, and it's just like, again, I think a lot of athletes can tend to just maybe not get lazy necessarily, but it's just easy to fall out of that habit of tuning into your body and just like listen, like kind of like, okay, let's take stock of whether it's when I wake up in the morning, or after a workout, or later that night after you've done, your training. And sharing that with a coach is obviously super, super helpful. But even more importantly than that, sharing it with yourself is huge, because only you can know exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And only you can kind of like, it's like know thyself. It's like that famous quote. It's like that self-awareness of recovery and training and all of that is such an important skill. And I think all of these tools are amazing and really useful. But like we talked about when we talked about the Whoop, it's like, if you're so reliant on that technology to tell you how you're feeling,
right,
you can kind of miss the big picture. Yeah. And so just using that simple idea of like red, green, orange to just check in with yourself every day, like makes an enormous impact. And it's a simple way to do it, because then you can kind of catch things before they start to kind of fester, and where then you get overtrained and sick or whatever it is.
Plus, it's like from me and interpreting your post-activity comments, it's just a simple way to feel. There's really 3 ways how you can feel. I mean, good, normal, not good. I mean, it's like the Spanish zone of training zones. They have 3 zones.
Yeah, really.
Easy, medium, hard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what fatigue comes down to. Of course, there's multiple layers within that. But break it down. I mean, be short and concise in the post-activity comments. And, felt great. That means something to
you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink it. And then when you were talking about know thyself, I mean, write it down. Then you're going to commit that to longer term memory. That's going back to your training diary.
See patterns.
Yeah. And you'll get a feel for your training. And maybe that's, when you look back on it a year or 2 years later, you'll be like, man, I was feeling really good during that time. And then you'll have a perspective of maybe why. Yeah. So let me read 2 post-activity comments. These are real comments that help me track fatigue. So the first one was sore at the beginning of the ride, but after I warmed up, the workout went well. I think I really had to bear down on the intervals to get them done. And what that means to me is that the athlete was sore, he's been training pretty hard as reflected in the training plan, so I would expect them to be sore, and as such, he said so. And but when he says, after I warmed up, the workout went well, what that means is that's the popcorn pop just right. Yes, the training is hard, but it's not so challenging that he can't complete it. And then the athlete I had to bear down on the intervals to get them done. That means it was challenging, but not overly challenging. He completed them and fell within that. That would be an orange workout. I felt orange, felt normal. He got them done. And then that lets me know, hey, the training plan, the training that I'm giving this athlete is just right. And that's like the Goldilocks.
Yeah,
porridge too hot, porridge too cold.
Yeah, just right.
Porridge just right.
Well, and it connects back to, the mind too. I mean, it seems like this athlete is potentially pretty motivated, because even though they maybe didn't feel that great going into it, they're tired from the training. They still had the motivation to get it done, and they still understood the utility and importance of pushing through that fatigue in order to complete the session.
Correct. Yeah, and this athlete in particular was he's been leaving post-activity comments for a while, so he's gotten experience at them. Another thing I realized that you can pick up sports psych that you just kind of made me remember is you can detect negativity and positivity.
Right.
How an athlete is feeling about themselves, their performance, their training, just everything overall. I mean, it's really easy to pick out. And so, obviously you want everyone to be really positive about their training and racing.
Half glass full versus half glass empty.
Right.
But again, there's also athletes, I mean, it can, that can just always be super positive no matter what. And I think there's a time and place to be honest too about it and say,
you can say this sucks.
Yeah.
And just be honest.
Yeah.
There's some times where it does suck.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like these Tabatas sucked.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they suck for everyone because they're hard.
Yeah.
If they don't suck, if you don't hate me during your intervals, you're not doing it right. And on the other hand, like a race, like you've done a race in the rain.
Oh yeah.
It sucks.
It's awful. No one enjoys it.
If you
maybe
go
some people do
overly negative on that, hey man, maybe you need to check how, your mindset. It's okay to vent and be like, yeah, that sucked. And we were like, yeah.
Sorry.
And this goes back, we'll talk about the environmental conditions.
Yeah.
But let me read you a second one, tracking fatigue. Super tired today after this 3-day block. Was able to complete 3 out of 4 intervals. I tried on the 4th, but was donezo. So what that means to me is the challenge. The training was challenging. The athlete was motivated. He was able to complete 3 out of 4, but he went to fatigue on that 4th one. And if this athlete has a rest day the next day, everything is going to be fine and good. They'll recover on the rest day. If this athlete had a hard workout the next day, and I read this, I'd be like, whoa, hold on, Nelly. Yeah. Let's change that training downstream, because if you failed here, I don't think you're going to be able to recover overnight in time for this next one. So that's a great example of monitoring the training and catching something on the fly. And when you do that, this microwave popcorn, every day you pop a new bag, and you don't want to pop 2 crappy bags in a row.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's how you catch it.
Yeah.
And so that is feedback that means something to me as the coach, as it relates to you and the training plan that we have going on.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it could be like, man, I felt amazing today.
Yeah.
And, that gets back to positivity, and I'd be like, well, yeah, you just came off a rest week, or yeah, you had a rest day yesterday, or a 2-day rest block. It's like, yeah, we want you to feel amazing.
Yeah. I mean, because you hear it like all the time, like pro athletes and professional coaches and all this stuff talking about how, mindset and, mental toughness and, mastering the mind, like, can be that next, 1 or 2% of for, because everyone at that level is doing more or less the same kind of training, but a lot of times it's that ability to be a samurai with your mind and know, like, really when to turn it on, turn it off, how to use positivity to create a positive feedback loop, or know when to back it off when you need to, or just know, or just like be able to shut it down and push through really hard periods of training,
right,
even when it's super hard, and that can be the next, a game changer for progressing.
There can be such a thing as being tough to a fault.
True,
and
for sure.
You hear about pro athletes all the time. They have like a forced rest, or they take their off-season break, and they're like, wow, I did not realize how tired I was for the last 3 months, because, it just becomes the norm. Yeah. And the coach has got to be the one that's able to that's what you have a coach for, is that objective person that's outside of you in your head to help you, figure it out. Like athletes, especially pros that train and race just every day. I mean, they don't even... The fatigue becomes so common that they start to, that fatigue feels normal.
Yeah.
And so, I just see that kind of like what you just mentioned.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword.
Double edge. So yeah, and this, you got to be honest with not only yourself but with your coach. And the post-activity comments are a great place to do it.
Yeah.
As you relate to that day-to-day training, it becomes a pattern. Yeah. So I think that covers like the physical fatigue.
Yeah.
So we got sports psych, we got physical fatigue. And then the third thing that I like to track or hear about in the post-activity comments are life stressors. Yeah. This is the stuff that acute training load and TSS does not account for. This is the kid was up at 3 a.m. barfing, and I'm stressed out about that. Not only that, but I'm not sleeping.
I haven't heard the word barfing in a long time.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was like, I had a huge fear of barfing when I was a little kid.
Oh yeah.
But that's not a good time anyway.
As a parent, it's even worse.
Yeah, sure.
Especially if it happens on you, which
God.
Then it's like,
never having
if
kids.
You don't do your interval workouts the next day because you got barfed on.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. I do too as your coach. Yeah. I'm like, well, let's reschedule that workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but stuff like that happens. Hard day at work. Hard days at work are actually why if the athlete can, we do recommend that you do your workout in the morning, because you can do your workout in the morning, still have a hard day at work, but you've already done your workout.
Yeah, you're done.
Then you've already completed it. So that's one of the reasons why we do recommend masters athletes do workouts in the morning. We got a great training tip on that: 7 successful habits of highly successful masters. They work out in the morning, but that's one of the reasons. But sometimes the stress is so much that it's going to carry over to the next day and the next day. Like, your company is not doing well and you may lose your job, or this project's not going well. You may have to fly to Taiwan to wrap your head around the project, and that's going to be 10 days away from training. Stress like that. Life stress manifests itself in a number of ways, and this goes back to, we're not mind readers. You got to tell your coach that. You got to, that's not going to come through in your data. It may come through in your motivation. Your coach is like, okay, what's going on here? Why, this is not like you. What's up?
Well, and again, this comes back to just being honest with your coach too, and not, I think a lot of athletes, and I mean, maybe we can talk about this, but a lot of athletes, myself included in the past, it's like, you want to please your coach. You want to be the best athlete, follow the plan exactly. But sometimes life gets in the way, and you have to be open to being honest with yourself and with your coach, but also open to constructive criticism and constructive feedback about, like, hey, I just, I am going to be gone for 10 days and life is really stressful right now. Can we reassess what's going on? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is, and that's an important point of dialogue to have with your coach, right?
Absolutely. I mean, your coach wants to understand you, and this is an important part of understanding. If someone says things aren't going well at work, and we're coming up on this really rough period, I may dial back the training, make it less difficult. On the other hand, if work, like a lot of athletes, has their jobs. There's busy times of the year. There's not busy times of the year. If you're an accountant, you got to be really careful doing really hard training, in March and April, right before tax day. But on the other hand, in August, when it's not that busy, you can do really hard training. But I want to know that as a coach. And like, if something comes up, I may be like, well, let's dial it back on the training. Let's try to balance. This is that life balance.
Yeah.
The life work training balance. Let's pull it back a little bit and see if we can achieve a balance that's going to help sustain you, rather than just have that balance tip forward always over to training. And you'll get burnt out. You may get to the point where you're no longer motivated, and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna not race this year. I have a lot of athletes right now, believe it or not, maybe training hasn't gone well this winter. We've had awful weather in Boulder, and to be honest, training has, for a lot of athletes here in Colorado, has not gone as well as it has in previous winters when our weather's better. And so a lot of athletes get discouraged. That's something you want to pick up in the post-activity comments. But without that feedback, a lot of athletes are like, I'm just not going to race.
Throwing in the towel
before it even starts. It's like, well, hold on now.
We got plenty of time.
Let's adjust the training plan. Let's achieve some balance. And you've still done some good work, and you can still be good this season. So we went on a tangent there, but that's some life stressors. Just one final example to life stressors, like your health, your health, maybe family members' health, that is super stressful. So, if something like that is going on, let your coach know. And
the training isn't the primary, emphasis, or most important thing going on in that moment. And so you have to be able to, communicate that, or else the coach, you're not a mind reader.
That's right. Not a mind reader. I mean, we're doing this all for fun. I mean, there's only a few people out there that this is their job. And so you got to remember what your priorities are. And, if you need to go and take care of your mom who's not doing well, by all means, go take care of your mom. Training, that should take a back seat. And we need to, we as coaches need to know about that. And we'll make that adjustment that, hey, we can make this work. Here's how. go, be a good child, and let's revise this downstream. Things like that. So, yeah. What other life stressors are there? I can't.
I mean,
there's so many.
Car breaks down. I mean, also like, things like that are more related to cycling. Your money, derailleur explodes. Yeah, money, you don't have enough money. Financial stuff, or I mean, your kicker broke.
It's the worst.
It's like stuff like that. I mean, obviously it's a spectrum.
Getting a flat tire right before you're supposed to do your intervals.
Yeah, exactly. And you only have a short window to do it, and you're running around and freaking out. I mean, that's going to undermine the quality of the training for sure.
That would be something to put in the post-activity comments.
Yeah.
I flatted right before I was beginning my intervals and only had 30 minutes more to ride, and dang it.
Yeah.
This ruined my ride. That stuff happens.
Yeah.
Anyway. Fourth and final component of post-activity comments would be environmental conditions. Like we talked about, we're not playing basketball. This is not indoor racquetball. You're out there in the elements, and that impacts your training. 70s and sun would be great, but it's not always. What's the expression?
It's not always rainbows and butterflies.
That's right. Rainbows and unicorns.
Unicorn, yeah, or butterflies.
Yeah, both.
Whichever you like more.
But yeah, man, sometimes the training is just hard, and like we just talked about. I mean, it's been really tough in Boulder lately, and you got to get out there and brave those elements, and you can tell a lot by knowing the environmental conditions. Did the athlete get out there and ride in a blizzard? And I've had athletes do that this year. You remember the cyclone bomb day?
Yeah.
Dude, I had an athlete train that day outside. And you know what was awesome? The previous week, we'd talked about how to get more out of your intervals, you really need to do them outside than compared to the kicker. So homeboy warms up on the kicker, and the cyclone bomb is going on.
In Boulder, he's a Boulder athlete?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it wasn't terrible here. I mean, compared to what it was like in Denver.
He did it at when it was terrible.
Okay.
Homeboy warms up in the garage, bundles up. He makes a beeline over for the hill, dominates his intervals, made some of the best wattage I've seen out of him all year. Comes back home to the garage, and I think he even cooled down in the garage, but then he had to hit the shower. But dude, it was nasty. I mean, it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, pouring rain, snow. Dude went out there and did it. That tells me
motivation is high.
And he's a little off his rocker in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beast mode right there.
Beast mode. On the other, and he's going to do the oat route.
Yeah, awesome.
So on the other hand, I see this a lot. We get too complacent with, our indoor training, and, it's like 45. Maybe it's not that sunny, but you could totally ride outside. But maybe you decide to ride inside.
Swift racing.
Well, no one does. Yeah, that's not allowed.
Not allowed.
But that's a whole nother topic.
But again, it's like we've always said, you got to practice how you want to play. And I think, there's going to be bike races where it's raining or it's cold and windy. You got to learn how to play in those conditions.
Cyclocrossers, my favorite expression is, you're not going to melt.
Yeah.
They're like, it's raining today, coach. What do I do? I'm like, you're not going to melt. Get out there.
They make gear for that.
They make gear for that.
They make rain jackets.
And you're going to race in that. Yeah. That's what you are as a cyclocrosser. Yeah. That's the best
Embrace
time
it.
to practice.
I mean, that's, again, it's coming back to the mental fortitude side of things. Like, if you can learn how to embrace it and be as comfortable as possible in those conditions, you're going to have an advantage over your competitors that are softer in those conditions. I'm pretty soft about the weather because I'm not trying to, win Tour of the Gila.
Dude, I've seen you out there Nordic skiing at -10.
Yeah, I still ride and train when it's crappy out. But I guess I'm not going to go ride when it's bomb cycloning out because I'm that is probably not the safest thing to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you do crazy stuff like that once. I mean, I rode the rollers for 4 hours once.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, that's worse than going and riding in the rain.
Yeah. Ugh. But there's other, there's the environmental conditions really matter. Like you could, say it was hot, really hot, and you'll see it in Training Peaks. They know that you live in Tucson, but then that's going to trigger a whole host of coachable moments. Like, all right, let's work on your nutrition. Why did this impact your workout? did your power fade over time? And you can attribute that to heat and dehydration, then that becomes more coachable. But some people are good in the heat and they never make a comment about it.
Totally.
And then I just know, hey, you're good in the heat. Or people that keep commenting about it, I know, hey, you're not good in the heat. You know, I'll advise, athletes. They're like, dude, it was so hot, I couldn't complete this workout. I'm like, okay, I want you to train the next day in the morning before it gets hot, so you can complete this workout.
Yeah,
stuff like that. But yeah, the weather is a biggie. Right about now in a lot of parts of the country, it's beautiful. Spring has sprung. I see everyone's motivation go through the roof. The whole cycling industry is cyclical. It's April through September because the weather gets good. Yeah. Everyone's jazzed about the weather. And so, environmental conditions go back to the sports psych and how it makes you feel good about riding. I mean, when it's super cold, everyone's motivation is not that high for riding. So, that's something for us to know. I mean, also, I like to say I'm not a weatherman, so please let me know your conditions. And it goes both ways. Like, it was a beautiful day. The birds were chirping.
Yeah, there was no wind.
The flowers were blooming.
Headwind tailwind both ways.
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
Those are great days.
Yeah.
So,
take advantage.
Yeah, and let your coach know in those practice activity comments. That's it. That's what you want to be leaving and telling your coach. That's what if you don't have a coach, that's what you want to be leaving in your post-activity comments for your training diary. That's it. Yeah. We got a few minutes. Take some questions from the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Coach Jake recently punished me in the rain. Nice.
Jake is a hard man.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. And also, I will say to that, did you melt? Probably not.
You're fine.
That's what Gore-Tex is for.
Yeah.
They have that expression, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear.
Yeah. Very true.
I don't see any good ones. Sorry, Coach Jake's done such a good job of moderating his beat us to the punch and all the comments. So thank you all for listening. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about next week, and I forgot. I'm a little since I came off vacation last week. I'm the podcast content counter is not fresh in my head.
Frank is still a little jet lagged.
No. You know what? I was jet lagged from going there, and it's interesting. You go to Hawaii and it's 4 hours behind us. Dude, the first morning I was up at 4 a.m.
It's awesome.
4 a.m. I'm walking on the beach in the moonlight.
It's awesome. You're like, I feel awesome. Feel great.
Then I wanted to go to sleep at 4:30.
Exactly. Then you're like crashing at dinner time and you're like, oh God.
We went to bed. I was even, everyone was giving me a hard time. And then by like the third day, everyone's going to bed at like 8:30.
Yeah. I mean, that first day, you're like so excited and like you're doing all this stuff throughout the day. You're playing on the beach and you're going on a bike ride and you're like eating food. And then it's like, it's so hard to fight through that. Like 4 or 5 p.m. Just you're feeling like just like a zombie and you're just like.
I found naps help.
Yeah.
But it was so awesome because you're up at 5:30.
You can get some stuff done.
And you're just looking forward to when the sun comes up.
Yeah. Cool.
So anyway, I don't know what we're talking about next week, but we'll come up with a great one. Of course, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear them. Thanks for your feedback. Hit us up on the socials. Where else? Subscribe, share this podcast with a teammate or a friend, especially if you think they're not leaving post-activity comments good enough. If you have a question about, what you should say, maybe turn over a new leaf. Maybe if you want to trick your coach, I know it's just April 1st, but you could leave like an essay one time and see what they have to say about that. That would be kind of a funny little prank to play. But other than that, thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. Good luck with your training.
Good luck for all of you Boulderites racing the Boulder Roubaix this weekend.
Yeah, baby.
First real race of the season here.
There's so many good racing going on right now. Joe Martin is this weekend.
Gila's coming up.
Yeah. There's like good races coming up all over the country. Yeah. And of course, Flanders.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you have a pick?
It's such a hard thing right now. I mean, Vanderpool's looking super good right now, although I don't know if he'll be able to, a lot of guys are probably kind of like hiding in the shadows, but I don't know. I mean, it's anyone's race. I don't know. I mean, apparently Valverde's doing it this year, which is kind of crazy. I don't think he's going to win it, but
I'll make a bold prediction.
Yeah, what's your prediction?
Someone from Quick Step.
I would rather not. I would rather not see someone from Quick Step
I just
win.
don't see it not happening.
I know.
I mean, they're so good. They've been so strong.
It's their race to lose. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
Valverde and Vanderpool do not race for Quick Step,
Right.
therefore I don't think they'll win.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be, sheesh, who knows? Yeah.
Philippe Gilbert, maybe.
Maybe. He's more of a Ardennes Classics
true.
guy. I'd love to see Zdeněk Štibar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He could do it. He's on good form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'll be great to watch.
All right.
Yes. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week. Same time, same bat channel.
Bye-bye.